guys and welcome to CarFlix. Today I'm going to be showing you how to fit an Android head unit into a 2010 Peugeot RCZ. So without further ado, let's crack on with that video. So this is what you get in the box. I got this from AliExpress. Got a widescreen Android 12 unit, which I thought was really cool, and it also came with a few extras as well. So I got the microphone, I got the DVR, which is basically a dash cam, and then I also got this rear view camera. You get all the harnesses, you get the canvas box as well, you got a GPS tracker, you got some instructions. That's the front of the unit. So this is the fascia that you get, which has got its own buttons, and then this kind of fits over the top. And then on your back, you've got all your internal connections to go to the car. So let's go and fit it. Right guys, so this is my standard setup. I put a tablet in here, and yeah, I ran everything. It did everything I needed to do, but I didn't like the fact it wasn't obviously fully fitted to a factory finish. I also needed a new camera as well, because the battery's depleted on this. It's not very good. So yeah, this is my setup at the minute, and we're going to take all this out. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to take this off, and then I'm going to show you how to remove the standard head unit. Before we do anything, we need to pop this bonnet, and we need to disconnect this battery. Safety is paramount. Right, so before we do this, obviously if you're right-handed, then you want to sit in the passenger seat, because obviously it's easy to get to everything. You want to drop your car in 4th gear to give you a bit more space. And now we're going to start removing the standard head unit with these holes here. Now you can buy some removal tools, but all I did was I got an old coat hanger and I just cut these to shape and then just slot them in the holes like that. And then that should allow me to pull them out as it grips onto it, and you should just feel it go in. And with a bit of luck, this should start coming out. Well, that didn't work. It just stripped off these, so we're going to go to plan B, which is start removing all this, because we've got to remove it anyway. So we're now going to remove this ashtray. Now going to remove this bottom rubber panel, which comes off like so. And now down here there are about 1, 2, 3, 4 torque screws. We're going to take those out, and then once we've done that, it'll just be a case of removing these panels as we go all the way up. So I get to this, I'm going to just release this from the back, because I think I've got to take all this out anyway. And if you're wondering, the tool you're going to need is a T20. Right, once you've undone these two here, this front fascia just slides off. Just be careful not to lose the screws, obviously. And then this then gives you the access to remove this, and we'll just work his way up. So once you've removed 1, 2, 3, 4 Torx bolts, what you want to do is remove this unit, and to do that you just kind of push it in like that. When you push that in, you can kind of tilt it, and then at the back there's just a connector here, and that comes out, and then there's one more connector just here. Pinch it together at the top, and then that comes off, and then that's your unit out just there. Climate control. And then with this one, it should just be a case of just pulling it, yeah, and that pulls out, and this gives you access to the head unit, which we're going to try and remove now with a bit of gentle persuasion from the top. Right, so we'll try again. So I've put these in, this will unlock the back, and then hopefully it should be a case of just pushing it from the back once these are locked in. Yeah, and there we go. Standard head unit slides out, and these are your connectors on the back. Something interesting I've noticed, VW Audi group connectors. How funny is that? And to get these off, you push the nib in at the top and pull it out like that. And this one, if I can see this, there's a nib, and you kind of pull that back and the trapdoor mechanism opens, and then yeah, that's it. There's a standard head unit. And if you're wondering what the code is for it, is that. So that's your standard harness, which will connect into the provided harness, which will just connect straight into here. The other thing I've got to remove is this, which should just pull out, I think, because obviously it comes with one of these to replace this. Aha, that just pulls out. And then again, it's your standard trapdoor connector, a nib at the top. Push that in, pull that down, and that comes out. So that's that removed now. Now, while I've been offering everything up, I suspected that I would probably have to cut this, but you don't, because this kind of just clips in over there. Obviously the connector for this wire for the buttons goes there, and then yeah, you just fit the harness around it. So that's a really clever idea. You'd have to start cutting anything, you know, it's completely reversible. But the other thing is you have to connect the head unit to this first, and the only thing holding this in are these clips, which I think will be suffice. But yeah, let's crack on with the wiring for the harness. Right, so the first thing is we're going to do the harness, which is quite self-explanatory. There we go. You've got to make sure that that's completely back or it won't go in. And then once that's all the way in, push that down and lock in, which it has done. There's your canvas box that came with it, but you just clip that in so it was separate. And this will go into the back of the head unit. I don't know what that's for. I think that's for a standard camera. But the rest should be fairly straightforward. You don't use these. Key 1, key 2 are for if you're trying to make your steering wheel buttons work, but I think with this one you don't need that. And then that's if you've got an automatic antenna, which you don't on these. So really the other ones you're interested in is this one and this one, which is going to the back of the head unit. Right, so I've kind of figured out that there's 2 antennas in this car somewhere. It's obviously on the outside of the RCZ, there is nothing visible, so it must be an in-body one. So my idea is I'm just going to use the grey one, and if I have problems with the radio, I'll just switch it over to the white one if I have problems. But yeah, that's pretty straightforward. It just clips into there, and then the other end goes in the new stereo, just like that. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the head unit to the panel, because you can't actually fit this in without that being attached, weirdly enough, but we'll give it a go. I'm going to use these screws that came with the light extension screws. They go in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you screw a little screw into the back of there. So let's do that, and that's what it looks like connected. I think that's quite smart. So what I'm going to do is lay this down on this this plastic. I'm going to start connecting it individually. First one to go in is the master harness, which connects to your original harness. That just clicks in here, like that. And then your canvas one, they can only go in one way, these. So it's got a far, I think it's that one, yep. And that clicks in. Right, now we'll start connecting the antenna. It says radio there. That just goes in there, like that. And then we'll start connecting the other things. Next 2 things is going to be the USB, which will be for the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It doesn't matter, they're slightly different. They can only go in one way. This is a slightly thicker one. Clip that in. That's one in there. And then again, the second USB is exactly the same. I'm just leaving these in so it reminds me, because obviously I need to install the other devices for charging in my DVR. My other devices I'm not going to fit just yet because I've got to run all the wiring to various points in the car is the GPS, which obviously goes in that point there. I'll leave that up here. And then the other one I'm going to hold fire on is the microphone, which I need to run to the top of the car. I mean, I could fit it just there and be a bit lazy because there is actually a gap straight through, or I might just go all standard and try and get it somewhere around here like the original one. I'll see how it goes, but yeah, those I'm going to hang fire on. So the next one I'll just be sticking in so I know where it is the separate harness, and this allows you to fit an amp if you want, but this is where the mic connects, the external mic that I just showed you. I think this one is for the rear view camera, this one here, and then that's if you want a continuous amplifier. It shuts it off when you turn the car off. And then these are all like additional things you put in. I don't know, you might want to put an additional camera in, or these will probably go to your amplifier again for your audio in, audio out, etc. But yeah, I'm going to connect this now, and again it can only go in one way. It's clipped to the top, and then you just kind of clip it in. Thing I need to install, but I'm going to hang fire on because I've got to run the wire in, is the DVR camera that will fit where the original one did, but looks a lot nicer. And then this is going to be the bugger. This is the reverse camera, and the instructions aren't very clear. Now some cars will know when the car's in reverse through the canvas, but some cars need to be wired to the reverse lamp, and that's a bit of a pain on the RCZ because the reverse lamp is right under the bumper. But I'm going to give it a bit of trial and error and see what happens. I'm going to plug this one in as well, and I think this goes in at the far end here, and that just goes into here like that, and there we go. That must be the Bluetooth aerial apparently, but they know what they're doing. Right guys, so after reading the instructions, I actually was right. This cable here isn't, well, it may do the Bluetooth there, but the separate wire that plugs into here is actually for the reverse camera, and it's on its own separate wire. And what you do is you plug the reverse camera into that one itself, which is this one here, and then it says you have to take a wire from the actual harness just here, and if you look here, it's the reverse, it is number 3, which is the brown wire here, and it looks like the brown wire is this one, so we're going to have to cut that brown wire and then connect that to the camera positive. That's what it's saying, and then we take it all the way to the back. So let's go and do that. If you're enjoying this video so far, why not consider liking and subscribing? Right guys, you've joined me some time later, because the problem with the RCZ is the reverse light is down here, we want the camera up here, and the loom disappears behind the bumper somewhere all the way to here. So I've done a bit of tracing. So I've took the back panel out, you remove the rubber first, and then I've also undone these clips here, which are basically just pushing. You just pull these out with a screwdriver and then they just pull out, and that reveals this unit here, which is your wiring harness, which goes from this point here all the way down here. Now what I've done is, this was just clipped in to this point here, if I can get a bit of view, and you just undo those, lay it against this unit, and then obviously that bottom connector is your feed. Now I've just discovered that the second pin down from the top orange cable, if you can see that, or is it brown, I don't know, it's the second pin. But when you put the car in reverse, which we're going to do now, excuse the mess, obviously the reverse lights come on, that switches to 12 volt, and that's coming from the second pin. So we're gonna connect the wire for the camera to that second pin, and then we're gonna somehow wiggle a wire in between there and there to get to this point here, and then we're going to fit the camera just here. Just to confirm, it's the second one in, which is that yellow cable just there. That is your reverse light. So we're going to tee into this, and that should give us his power for our reverse camera. Right guys, you join me as I'm trying to wire up this part here. So what I'm going to do is I've took the rear number plate light out, and all you do is kind of do that horizontal until it wiggles out. And what I've done, I've got an old coat hanger and I've threaded it through, and what I've done is, if you can feel this, or if you can see it, but in there is like a ventilation hole, and this is the other end of the wire coat hanger, sorry, just there. And yeah, I threaded it straight through. Just push it from the number plate end, and what I'm going to do is attach the wire to that and pull it straight through. Right guys, so I've threaded the camera through. I pulled the opposite wire through because this wire wasn't long enough. I've also taped these together so that they don't like shake free or anything. Now if you come to the wiring, I'm going to pull these back through so I can show you the red wiring. So here's the red wiring here, so the positive. So what I'm going to do is it's already connected to the camera red wire, which is the black one you saw me push in and tape together. This black one's going to go to an earth, which is just there, and the red one is going to go to that orange, yellow cable there, and that'll give us power when we put his reverse lights on. Right, so what I've done here is I've stripped the wire just there, and I've also stripped the wire just there as well. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap this around that to make contact and then put insulation tape over the top. So that's the wire taped up, and on there I've just put a connector on to the negative, which is here, and then I'm going to connect it onto this positive. I just unscrewed a 10mm bolt. It's going to rest under there. I'm going to put the screw back on. Alright guys, so you joined me a few hours later after some text message between AliExpress and myself. I've managed to fit the camera. It's if you look under there, I didn't want it overhanging the number plate. I thought it looked a bit crap, so I've put it to the left of the number plate. I've also put this at a bit of an angle so that it'll be true and straight when I'm reversing. Yeah, basically cut a notch just to the left of the number plate light, which gave me enough space to get the cable through, and then tightened everything up. We come inside, everything's all back as it was, and now beginning to run the wire behind all the interior. Right, so I've put most of the interior back again now, and I've hidden the wire under here, and then I'm going to continue hiding this wire under the seats. Let's move into the back. I've just got the wire through there, and then what you can do is you can get your fingers in here and just pull the seat back, and then tuck the wire under there, and then put that back down like that. And then we're now going to put it under here and around to the front. What I've done here is just put my fingers under here and lifted it, and you can tuck it in there, and then with this it's just literally just pulls up like that. I think there might be one bolt somewhere, otherwise it's just a case of wiggling it out. So yeah, this is how I've run the wire, so it's not too tight. I've took this panel off where the footlight is. That was just literally 3 plastic clips you use with a screwdriver. Drop that down, and now I've literally just got a wire, the same coat hanger wire, and I've pushed it through and it's come out the other end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the wire through into here and then connect it to the back of the head unit. Yeah, I've just hid the wire around the back of the carpet, there, and now it's pulled through, and I can make my final connections on the back of the stereo. Right, so I'll just show you. So obviously this is the wire coming in, and what I've done is, as in the instructions, there used to be a brown wire that went from here to here, which is part of the black harness wiring for the canvas, and I cut the wire as per instructions, and I connected it to the wire I've just run through the car, and then all we do now is connect that to this wire, which connects at the very end here, and then that literally just connects into here like so. Next thing I'm fitting is the microphone, which is a gift, and all you do is got a little clip there. I'm going to put it next to standard. You push it in there, and the cool thing is about this is it's directional, so you can put it where you want it. And what I've done is I've kind of gone down, put a tool in there, and sort of like put the wire in as it's going down, and then what I'll do, I'll hang it out here, because I might as well, while I'm here, is I'm going to do my DVR camera at the same time. Right, so this is the DVR camera. This is the short end connector, and it came with this little 32 gig card as well. So I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to clean the windscreen because it's pretty dirty up there, and then stick it on and then start running the wiring. I've already took the panel off here. This was really easy, just pull it off and then we'll run the wiring down there, down the same wiring loom as the standard wiring loom. Right, so the camera's fitted. I've tucked the wiring up into the headlining with a bit of slack in case I need to move it. And then all I've done, put little bits of tape around the original wiring loom. And while I'm here now, I'm going to fit the GPS module to here so the car can see the satellite. So this is the GPS module that just sticks to the dashboard with a bit of 3M tape, and then basically it's going to pass it through under the dash and then connect this to the back of the head unit. So I've just stuck it here with the wire pointing inwards so you don't see the wire, and now I'm going to stick all this back together and then start routing the cables as one. Right, so to route the rest of the cables, what I'm going to do is you pull this off. It just pulls off as one piece, and there's actually a channel all the way to the head unit. So I'm going to wrap these together with a bit of tape, and then I'm going to put a coat hanger through there if it's long enough, and then just wrap them together and pull them all through. So the wires are through, and it's coming out the other end now. One thing to worth noting when you're putting this panel back is you might have to take the rubber off a bit, just so it'll go in there, and obviously make sure that the wires don't get stuck where the tabs are going to go, like here. So yeah, just be careful of that when you put it back. Right, that's back in. This was the tricky one. You've got to slide, you've got to pull this out, slide it up, and then push it up and then clip everything back in, but it went really nice. So now I'm going to put these wires where they go. Right, so your GPS goes there, which is just a screw in. Your microphone goes into there, labelled mic, and then your DVR goes into one of the spare USBs, which is here. But also what you want to do as well, there's a second USB. You want to plug your charging cable for your phone into that, because that's what's going to run your Android Auto. One final thing, make sure all your wiring is routed through the top section, otherwise it's going to be a nightmare to push back in. So the final thing before we put everything back together, I did actually move the GPS down to the bottom just to make it a little bit easier, and then this needs to connect to here to work all the hazard lights, etc. So do that and then continue fitting. Right, so this hasn't been fitting very well, so what I've had to do is I've had to kind of trim these down because the clips aren't clipping on the inside. So if you just get some pliers and just snip about 1 mil off, it should start to go in then. So it's in. But what I've had to do is, after I've shaved those bits off, is stick my fingers up inside and then manually to like clip them in one by one, 2 top, 2 bottom, and now it's solid. So next we're going to reconnect the climate control. Pretty straightforward. That goes in there, and the other one goes in the back there. But don't forget, when you're refitting it, is to push it in and then turn it so it comes back on itself. So next you just slide and clip your fascia in, and then put your bolts back in. Next we're going to put in your ashtray. You just push that down, push that in till it clicks. Now you will notice I've left this. This is so that I can charge my phone and also use Android Play with it as well. I'll probably tuck some of this back in. And this is the last bit that will go in, but before I do that I'm going to cut a little notch out so the wire can just come through the bottom for my Android. And then the last thing to do is to reconnect the negative like that, and then we'll go and see what it's like. Right, moment of truth. And there you have it, all fitted. So that's it, all working, and I'm really happy with that.
A great success!
Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing. See you on the next one.